Today's video, we are going to be discussing 6 tips for how to write papers in social work school. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Jacqueline, and if this is your first video that you're watching of mine, I am a Master's of Social Work student. So for this video, I'll be going off of my experience in my social work program, and in this program, the social work school, it is a lot of papers. So I've probably only had a few tests or quizzes, not even really tests, but just like quizzes in my whole entire social work school career. So that includes my 2 years of undergrad to get a bachelor's in social work. So it's really just all papers. Mainly the papers that I write are all based on case studies utilizing the clients in my internship. And that is in a master's program. So in my bachelor's program, I did do a few of those type of assignments, but mostly it was papers regarding the chapters that we read, whatever, articles we read and how we thought about that. Just based off what the class was about, mainly more than utilizing clients. That was more maybe towards the end of my bachelor degree. But anyways, today's video is going to be all about how I write papers and what has really worked for me. I think of myself as a pretty organized person. I like outlines. I like structure to things regarding my assignments. So a lot of that will be based on this type of aspect. If you are currently in a program looking to go into the social work program, I really hope this video helps. So my first tip is to read the whole paper, the rubric, whatever paper is giving you the instructions of what they want you to write about. Definitely read the whole thing, see what the paper is looking for before you even start. Reading the whole entire paper will give you a little bit of an overview of what you're supposed to be looking for. Basically, as self-explanatory as it is, you know what you're writing about. So that is definitely my first tip. My second tip is all about writing an outline to this paper. What I have found extremely helpful is taking a separate piece of paper, like a lined piece of paper maybe, start out an outline. So put the due date, headings, which headings according to the guidelines you have to go off of, and then bullet point underneath those headings what you're going to write about. So you can do this on paper, or you can even use a document on the computer and go under like a Word document and write and set up the paper in whatever format you use. Personally, my School of Social Work always uses APA format. So if you do it on the computer and start your outline on the document, it's easier to plug in all the information because you're already in the document. So under the heading, bullet point what ideas you have underneath it. That way you kind of get all your thoughts out, all your ideas out. Just lay it on there and get out the general ideas of what you have when writing this specific section of your paper. And when using the Word document, you can actually write underneath the bullet points and then delete the bullet point after, so you can kind of remember and make sure that you got everything that you actually want to write about in the paper. The third tip is, I know it is really hard to start papers sometimes, especially if there's a lot to it and the assignment seems really overwhelming. A good way to just motivate yourself really is to just get a comfortable place, find somewhere that relaxes you, maybe go to a coffee shop, somewhere where you don't have a lot of distractions. It could be your school library or somewhere on your school campus, somewhere like that. Just go somewhere that relaxes you and that you don't feel rushed to do your paper. I think that a good intro motivates me. So when I start off the paper with an introduction, which I start out all my papers with an introduction, I don't just go right into the paper. So in that intro, you're going to be talking about what you're about to talk about in the paper. So I find that once I kind of get those thoughts out and make a really good introduction, and I'm like, okay, this is good. I know what I'm going to write about. I don't feel as overwhelmed. So just having that really good introduction, putting yourself in an environment that relaxes you can be a helping hand. And my fourth tip is something that I find really important. And when you actually start writing the paper, just write. Don't think about grammar, don't think about spelling, editing wise, while you're writing. For me, I just keep typing. I basically just get all the words out, all the ideas out that I possibly can, and I don't worry about proofreading. I think while you're worrying about editing and grammar and things while you're writing, it might distract you, or it could just kind of throw off the flow of just getting all your ideas out. Most of the time I will, after each section or each paragraph, then I will proofread it. So again, I'm not editing as I go. I'm waiting till I'm completely done with that section underneath that heading, or that subheading I should say, and then I'll edit it after. My fifth tip is to take breaks, and I think this is also a super important tip. I think for good quality work, you have to take breaks and give yourself some mental breaks in between writing your paper. If you're really good with time management, organization, you can even split it up over a few days. Usually you have quite a while to get a paper in college. So say you even have 3 weeks, you can do a few pages a week or a few pages a day. I like to get things done early personally. So I usually break it up into manageable pieces so I'm not overwhelmed. Yeah, so you definitely don't have to do the whole entire paper all at once. I would even almost advise against that with, doing it without taking breaks, because you don't know how many times that I have gone late into the night writing my paper and I'm so tired, my eyes are heavy, I'm just exhausted, and I wake up in the morning and review what I read and half of it doesn't even make sense. So yeah, my sentences, I'm like, where was my thought with this? What was I even thinking? Like, what does this even mean? So when I'm just so overtired, my work isn't the best quality whatsoever. So then I have to go back and kind of assess what I want to actually put in there. But yeah, if I had just kind of given myself that break, slept and take the night and recharge and then focus in the morning, I wouldn't have had to, go back over the parts that don't make sense because I was too overtired. So yeah, I think that is a super important tip, because especially in college, I feel like a lot of us are just like, let's get it done. Let's come on, we have to stay up till 3 a.m. and write papers. I believe, in my opinion, that the best quality work comes from taking mental breaks here and there and really just being in it when you're writing and just kind of being in that environment that relaxes you, assigning that whole time just to take and write your paper, knowing I have nothing else to do with this, say 1 hour besides write this paper, then it might help you stay on track a little bit. The sixth and final tip is to proofread everything at the end, and this might seem obvious. Earlier I was talking about how I proofread each paragraph after I'm done with it, or each section under each subheading that I'm writing about. I'll proofread at the end of that. So you should have proofreading involved in the paper already, but when you read through the whole entire paper at the end, you can catch spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, you can see if the flow is right. Even like reading it out loud, I think, is a really great tip, because when you're speaking it out loud, I think you catch way more mistakes. You have like a friend or a family member or something like that that can listen to your paper, that's even better because you get a second opinion. And even if your friend or family member, significant other, doesn't quite understand the like social work or whatever topic you're writing about the paper, your paper should, I guess, explain the topic. So I know I've had a professor before that said kind of like, write as if the reader has no idea what you're talking about. And that way you are explaining in your paper, you're explaining your thought process, where you're getting your information from. So if the person you are reading this paper to is kind of like, oh, I'm not really understanding where you're coming from with that, it might be helpful in rewriting that little part of your paper and explaining it more, things like that. And don't forget to meet the page number count and the references count. I know some professors have references minimums where you have to have a minimum of like 10, 15, 20 references, and some professors are like, I don't care how many references you use as long as you get the paper done, and you're bound to use some references. So every professor is going to have a different way of teaching the class and wanting certain things for their papers. So I would definitely advise to ask questions in class. Make sure you get any clarification into what the teacher is asking you and what they want. And definitely utilize emailing them and reaching out and contacting them if you do have any questions. I think as long as you know what your professor that's assigning this paper wants, and you read the guidelines, rubric, syllabus, whatever that they give you that tells you what the paper is about, you should totally be all set. And I hope these tips help you write your college papers in social work. Please subscribe if you want more social work videos. Leave any questions below if you have any, and I will see you in my next video.